You're not ready for this? I've got 3 massive headlines you need to hear. We're diving into Nancy says formation change was not a factor for losing start at Celtic. Alistair Johnston defends Wilfried Nancy despite Celtic nightmare versus Hearts. And Daizen Maeda is too quick for his own good as Celtic lose to Hearts. Oh, and trust me, the last one is the real jaw dropper. Stick with me right till the end. We have 6 news a day to keep you updated with the mighty Celtic. Hit that subscribe button and be part of it. Look, let me tell you straight, you could feel the storm clouds gathering over paradise the moment Wilfried Nancy walked back up that tunnel. His first match in charge of Celtic, and everyone and their granny was pointing fingers at the formation as if the shape on a tactics board suddenly erased decades of footballing sense. But listening to Nancy after that 2-1 loss to Hearts, you can see the man's not hiding, not throwing out excuses, and certainly not blaming the system. He's standing there calmly in the middle of a Glasgow gale, saying the real issue was connection, tempo, and that sharpness you need when a team sits as deep as Hearts did. And he's right, you saw it with your own eyes. It was like trying to break into a safe with a sponge. He started with Kieran Tierney tucked into a back 3. Tunekti and Yang pushed high as wingbacks, and this wee box midfield that was supposed to help thread the needle. And yes, Daizen had 2 massive chances in that first half. 2, if either one drops in, you're hearing a completely different Parkhead soundtrack. But after those misses, everything just felt stuck. Dominating the ball is lovely, but you need teeth. And at times, it felt like we'd left hours in the dressing room. Then Hearts score from a moment where half the backline freeze like they're waiting on an offside flag printed on Sucky Hall Street. You could practically hear the groans rolling down London Road. Second half, same shape on paper, but Nancy clearly wanted speed, combinations, runners, breaking lines. Instead, Hearts grow into the game. We switch off at a corner, and suddenly McEntay's header puts us 2 down. Rio rattles the bar, and Tierney gives us a late one to make it look respectable on paper. But let's be honest here, the fight back never truly caught fire. That's what stings more than any chalkboard criticism. And credit where it's due, Derek McInnes set his team up properly. He'd been watching Nancy's Columbus Crew clips like they were box sets. He knew exactly where the spaces would open, and he clogged the middle of the pitch like a rush-hour car park. Hearts did their homework. Simple as that. But the bigger picture, you can see what Nancy wants. Quick recognition, connections between players, bravery on the ball, attacking with numbers, and with 1 full training session, the guy's basically trying to knit a scarf during a hurricane. He's learning this squad in real time, and trust me, there are plenty in that dressing room who will need to show him they belong in a Celtic side with ambition. Now, here's the real question I want you thinking about, and I mean properly thinking about, because this one's going to split opinion like a Derby Day argument outside the Gallowgate. Did Celtic lose this match because the players didn't adapt quickly enough to Nancy's ideas, or is Nancy risking too much too soon by shifting the structure before the squad's ready for it? Hit that subscribe button, lads. Let's G it. Loudy till we hit 1,500 mad Celtic dafts. Alistair Johnston stepping forward to back Wilfried Nancy after that rough opener felt like one of those proper Celtic moments where you see the character in the dressing room. You could sense the noise swirling around paradise, folk muttering about systems, shapes, this 3 at the back, that 4-man box in midfield, and of course the usual moaning from the same voices who'd blame the floodlights if they could. But Johnston, who actually knows Nancy's methods from their time across the pond, wasn't having any of it. He's standing there, cool as anything, telling everyone that the guy will bring success, but reminding him in the most honest Glaswegian way possible that at a club like Celtic, you need to win while you build. And he's spot on. This isn't MLS, where you get time to knit a project slowly. This is Glasgow, where even the pigeons on Sucky Hall Street will give you pelters if you start slowly. You could see Johnston wasn't speaking like someone trying to sugarcoat a disaster. He knows it was a brutal start. Losing 2-1 to Hearts at home isn't something a Celtic manager can brush off, and he knows the reaction didn't come out of thin air. Supporters saw the shape, saw the confusion in patches, saw the struggles to break down a side that sat deep, and some didn't like Nancy's post-match interview either. But Johnston's words had a seriousness to them. He was saying, in his own way, look, this guy's got a football brain, sharper than winter air on the Clyde, but he needs to start putting 3 points on the board, or the pressure becomes a weight no tactics board can lift. What's interesting is hearing Johnston talk about how Nancy's philosophy literally got him his move to Celtic. That tells you there's a structure, an identity, a blueprint that has worked before. He's not some guesswork merchant scribbling lines on a whiteboard. He's got a system built on fluidity, bravery, combinations, and a bit of swagger. Exactly what Celtic support loves when it's working properly. And Johnston made it clear, when it clicks, it's beautiful football. The type that gets you out your seat, arms in the air, screaming at some poor Rangers defender who's twisted into a pretzel trying to keep up. But for now, Nancy's caught between implementing that identity and proving to the Celtic fan that he can grind out results in the meantime. And let's be honest here, having a player like Johnston publicly step up this early, vouching for him, saying he believes in the project, that's massive. Dressing room backing can't win matches on its own, but it can stop a rocky start turning into a crisis. And with the league as tight as it is and the eyes of every rival glued to every wobble we make, unity matters almost as much as tactics. So here's what I want you thinking about, and it's the kind of question that's going to spark proper debate. Do you trust Johnston's view that Nancy will deliver once the dust settles? Or do you think Celtic can't afford even the slightest patience in a season where the title might be decided by a single slip? Hit that subscribe button. Lads, let's G it lolly till we hit 1,500 mad Celtic daffs. Daizen has always been one of those players who makes you sit forward in your seat, heart racing, because you know the moment he takes off, defenders start praying. But against Hearts, it was one of those afternoons where his own pace turned into the enemy. Watching him bursting through the middle, leaving maroon shirts flapping behind him like lost washing in a Glasgow gale, you could see exactly what Nancy was trying to do. But then came those two massive chances, the kind that normally get buried at Paradise. And suddenly even I felt myself clutching my head like an old lad in the Johnston stand, wondering how on earth he hasn't stuck at least one away. Listening to the pundits afterwards was almost comical. Chris Boyd, who knows a thing or two about missing sitters himself, trying to analyze Daizen's movements like he's suddenly some kind of academic. He actually said Daizen is too fast for his own good. Imagine that, coming from a man who hasn't been too fast for anything in his life, apart from maybe sprinting for the last pie at halftime. But you know what? Even through his usual nonsense, there was a point in there. Daizen's legs were flying like he'd been shot out a cannon, but the rest of him couldn't quite catch up. It was like watching someone sprint down Sucky Hall Street in the rain and forgetting the pavement ends. Scott Brown's take hit the nail even better, one touch too many. And Brown's not the type to mince words. He knows the rhythm, the timing, the weight needed in those moments. Daizen had all the hard work done twice, clean in behind, the crowd roaring before the shot even came. But the decision just didn't land for him. And that's what stings, because these weren't half chances. These were match-defining openings where Celtic should have put Hearts away before they even knew what was happening. What James McFadden said, though, that's the bit I hope Nancy listens to. Those chances came from quick forward passes, the type of play Celtic thrives on. Sharp, vertical, devastating. But once those moments dried up, everything slowed and Hearts settled right back into their wee shell. And then it all turned into sideways passes, hopeful crosses, And that feeling every Celtic fan knows too well when the clock's ticking and the goal just won't come. But I'll tell you this right now, these misses don't define Daizen. The lad gives everything. He presses like his life depends on it. He makes defenders panic, and he's a nightmare to track. But even with all that energy, all that chaos he brings, there's still the question Nancy has to solve. Where does Daizen do the most damage, through the middle or back out wide, where he can tear fullbacks to ribbons instead of carrying the weight of being the finisher? And here's the question I want you thinking about, the one that'll spark proper debate. Do you actually believe Daizen should ever play as the main striker again? Or is it time Celtic stop forcing him into a role that only highlights his flaws instead of unleashing his strengths? Hit that subscribe button. Lads, let's G. It loaded till we hit 1500 mad Celtic dafts.